Yeah, I'm here. Hello YouTubers and welcome to another episode of the vlogs. Today, as you can tell from the title, we're talking about blisters for rowing. A lot of people have been asking, especially as we begin the new season, how they deal with blisters. But we've got Yam here to help us along that journey. We're going to go out in the water this afternoon after a weight session this morning, but the water isn't looking too great and the wind is blowing in that certain direction where it will only get worse throughout the day. But rowing is a rowing sport, of course, so we might get on the water later. We'll see how that goes. But first things first, like I said, we've got weight sessions to do, so we're going to play a little bit of fetch with Yam as he tries and chases a bee or wasp or bug of some kind, get him a little bit more tired, and then get onto the weights. Isn't that right, Yam? Yes. Oh yeah! And we've made it into the crew room. We're playing Risk. We've got some breaded egg toast.
And I've just been taken.
Oh, and I've just been taken. Absolute disaster. And we've got Yam here as well. Oh yeah, but now it's time to fuel up because remember, food is fuel. Sit. Good boy. Fetch it. And we've made it outside of the club once again, post fueling up, to let Yam get some energy out, and then we're going to head on the water. The wind has calmed down. The water isn't actually too bad once you pass the corner there, so we're going to get out into the fore, and then we're going to talk a little bit about blisters. So as you can see in my hands, I'm not sure if you can actually, but there's a little bit of blistery stuff going on, but it's not too bad. So I'm lucky enough to have not too blistery hands, but I know it can definitely be a problem, especially when I was at university. Blisters were an issue, and I've got a few tips for that, but we're going to get to that post rowing in the fore. So we're going to get changed, get ready to go in the fore, get some energy out of Yam with some fetch, and then get on the water, and then blister chat. Oh yeah!
I know I'm blind, but I hear symphonies of your heartbeat.
Stu's first row in a fore for about 20 years. So we stayed afloat, so that's good. But now it's time to go fuel up because remember, food is fuel! Yes! And we've made it into the crew room to fuel up post rowing in the fore with the lads, and then we'll talk about those little bits of blisters. So far, rowing, I've not been rowing every day for every session, so my hands have been okay. And that's one of the tips of blisters, and treating your hands is building into it as you go forward and not just doing 20k, 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 100k on the water and ruining your hands, because then it takes time to heal. But if you build them into it pre sort of big volume, then you give your hands a chance to build up some resistance. But now we're going to fuel up and then chat a little bit about treatment of the hands if you do get bad blisters. So let's get to it. And we've made it on to the balcony post fueling up. We've got Richard as well to talk about dealing with blisters, and of course Yam. Good boy. If he has any inputs, we'll let you know how they go on. But put the camera down and we'll talk about blisters.
So Cameron, how do you deal with blisters?
Well, like I said earlier, so earlier on in the episode, I showed my hands. I've got little bits of blisters, but I'm quite lucky to not have, like, people have really sensitive hands.
Yeah.
And mine don't seem to get big blisters. The only times where it gets bad is if, like, a blister happens, like a small one, and then I like pick around it, and then I go too far, and then it gets like bigger, and that's when it goes wrong. So, first tip: if you have a blister, try not to pick at it, because you could get infected. It could make the whole blister worse, etc. But getting blisters themselves, do you want to take that? So if you've got a blister on your finger, what do you do?
I get a pen, probably sterilised.
And how would you sterilise a pin?
With a flame.
A flame. But this is
Just a gentle
before
flaming.
we get going with this as well, we are not doctors. So this is literally what we do. I'm not a doctor. And this is kind of what we've done, what we do to help either prevent blisters or deal with them when they happen.
So get a pin, gentle flaming. You don't want to like
Burn.
blacken the metal, yeah. And then just stick it in the corner of the blister, in the side, squeeze out all the goo, get a tissue, mop it up, and then hopefully it should like seal up again, but without any like blister, if that makes sense. It might come up again, but just keep doing it. And then before you, on the erg or lifting weights or on the water next time, put some just bit of electrical tape over that area, and it should help it not rub as much for the next time, and then hopefully it will have healed more for the day after or so, and then it should be okay.
Yeah, and that's what happens when. So you've got the blister, and you've not. So you're on the water and it bursts.
Yeah.
And like tears. Then what? So you can't. It's too late to stick the pin in it.
Get some nail clippers, trim off the excess skin.
Yes.
And then don't cover it up. Let it dry out.
But what if you've got another session?
Tape.
So cover it up if you've got another session.
Yeah,
but if you've got like, so say your last session, big blister tears of the day, and then you take the excess skin off. Maybe a bit of, what's the red and grey tab? Is this
Pseudocreme?
Is it Pseudocreme?
Yeah. Pseudocreme.
So Pseudocreme, I would like to put that on during the night, and that seems to really speed up the healing process. Bit of antiseptic cream, Pseudocreme on there, taking off excess skin, and letting it dry out. Not covering it
I think
up.
the biggest thing is letting it dry. If you put a plaster on it or something that's going to cover it up, it's going to stay wet, and it won't heal.
Yeah.
Whereas if you let it dry, it shouldn't hurt as much.
Yeah. But if you've got another session to do on that day, a bit of tape. And I have a preference on the tape I use. There's like zinc oxide tape, pretty cheap. Get it from most sort of pharmaceutical stores.
Yeah, Boots or something like that.
Yeah, and then you can like, sometimes you can get it in like big chunky rolls. You like half that roll. But basically, I like to put it in between the knuckles, because usually I have my blisters in between the knuckles. But there's also different types of cutting you can do for, like, say you have one under the knuckle, but that's complex stuff.
And we're not doctors.
And we're not doctors.
You could try and prevent getting them in the first place.
That's
so
true.
usually everybody gets blisters at the start of the season because they haven't rode for ages.
Yeah.
So if you do just enough over the summer,
Yeah.
like you've probably done this year, you won't get any at the start of this year. Like
And that, yeah. But
once,
that's what's said.
maybe twice a week, do some rowing,
Yeah.
and it should like maintain the calluses enough
Yeah.
that you don't get them as bad at the start of the year.
Yeah. And that's what I said earlier. I haven't been rowing a lot, but it is a case of if you have the opportunity to build up the rowing, and that's like one of the biggest things is for hands. Like they can stop people from rowing if they get bad enough. Like if you look at Matt Rosser's hands right here, disgusting.
Disgusting.
So Matt's hands get really bad, and he's been rowing for a long time on the GB squad and everywhere else, and he still gets really bad blisters like you just saw. And so it doesn't apply to just because someone's been rowing for a long time doesn't mean they won't get blisters, but if you can take steps to reduce
He also does
wear.
a lot of rowing though.
Yeah, but it's still like, so he does, like Matt will do that and say, who like in the Fort Sholto, and this year wouldn't have the same, like they'll do the same rowing, but his will be lower. Because so some people just have like hands that are more likely to get blisters. So it's your grip as well on the oar that can affect your blisters. But building into the season, making sure that you're not just going to do your full program straight away, but also don't worry if that's what you have to do. Maybe you've not had an opportunity throughout the pre-season or whatever before your training program starts to do a building in for the hands. There's other ways to do it as well. When we used to build really quickly up at university, I would take the zinc oxide before I would get a blister. So I would like take, not on the first day or the first session, but then between the next sessions, I would say, you can kind of feel when your hands, where a blister is going to happen. So tape that area up. And then usually, but the disadvantage of that is usually by taping one area up is putting the pressure on another area. So that area might need taped up, and you might end up with just tape everywhere. But if you do it right and you build up, you shouldn't need too much tape, you shouldn't need too much care before, and then you shouldn't need blisters. But there's also a whole other conversation about oar handles. Like some people prefer different types of oar handles that can cause blisters or not cause blisters, but that's a whole another video. But I think that's all for blisters really. So taking care of your hands by letting them build into the resistance, making sure they're clean, making sure there's nothing like flapping around. So if you've got excess skin around the blister, cut it off, but don't go too far. Like I said earlier, if I'm picking it away, it can go too far and then you can get like infected and it makes it worse. If you
Sterilise needles.
So if I've got a little one here, you can pop that and let the skin stay over it, so don't peel it off if it's still intact, so it can sort of keep protecting the vulnerable skin underneath. But if it does tear off, make sure you take the excess. Yeah?
Yam, anything to add?
Yam doesn't have anything to add, but that will be it for today's episode, Yam Squad. Hopefully you've enjoyed a little bit of an informative one today on blisters, especially as the season is pretty much started. We start on Monday. I know a lot of you guys are starting or have already started, whether it's at university or your club or wherever it is. Yam has found a sponge. Alright. Yam's found a sponge. Yam, what you got there?
He's got cobwebs on his face as well.
Yeah. And as always, Yam Squad, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I'll see you tomorrow.